Hello again, everyone. Edwin Learnard back once again. In this YouTube astrological segment, I'm going to be talking about how I believe the zodiac sign Capricorn manipulates you. And yes, this does apply and pertain to the sun, moon, and ascendant. Anyway, people, first thing up is, well, Capricorn may attempt to manipulate you by vilifying you, doing things that can then damage your credibility and things with the reputation and public image. Um, they may do something to make you, in terms of something negative that may impact your career, or they might do some might impact your career adversely. Um, Maybe make a bad career choice if they see you as a competitor or a potential competitor with them. Now, Capricorn often has the ability, perhaps, to manipulate things that in terms of their career and being successful. I mean, you look at the late great prolific New York Yankees owner George Steinbrenner. He had a Capricorn ascendant at 29 degrees, which of course I see as the full culmination of the sign. Many may have seen him as ruthless, dictatorial, tyrannical, or what have you, but he got the job done. He was somebody that would be very difficult to outmaneuver or outsmart in terms of business. Uh, he lured numerous marquee and elite players to the Yankees to make them the best they possibly could be, and they were a perennial contender for the World Series title in many years. You look at and he made that team very successful and dominant for many years that he was on, that he was the owner of the New York Yankees. Now, another thing too, looking at Capricorn, I mean, Capricorn can sometimes manipulate others by really just making themselves really just look tough, formidable, imposing. You could see many Capricorn people wearing those sleeveless shirts, trying to show off their biceps in a lot of instances. They often do this to make themselves look more imposing to others. You see Dwayne Johnson, The Rock, who has a Capricorn moon. He don't have to do that because he's naturally, obviously got a very big physique, very muscle bound. He's imposing anyway. But he has, he kind of has a very tough demeanor, though, and I think a lot of that is from that Capricorn moon coming out. You see him in his acting a lot. He'll play somebody that'll be very no-nonsense type personality. Also, too, sadly, you'll see some Capricorn people that may manipulate someone unwittingly or inadvertently, because Capricorn, sadly, in a very negative manifestation, could be very pessimistic and negative. And sadly, they may unwittingly discourage somebody from trying to do something. Perhaps it might be connected with some negative statements. They could be the ones, sadly, that might often put a damper on things. And sometimes, well, as far as discouraging, this might be done deliberately in many cases, but I think what happens too, sometimes there's something with Capricorn that's very melancholy and despondent, and sometimes, sadly, that mood may rub off on other people, and it could impact them and kind of manipulate their behavior, perhaps to some degree, though this, of course, may be unwittingly and inadvertently. Now, and again, that propensity to put the damper on things certainly does not help matters. When I look at Capricorn, I mean, you think of the sign Sagittarius, though it is adjacent to them, it's really almost the antithesis of them in a way, because Sagittarius, of course, could be very expansive, upbeat, and optimistic, and Capricorn could be somewhat depressive, negative, and pessimistic. They're actually very opposite in many ways. I think a Sagittarius could actually be very beneficial to Capricorn. But anyway, and I think really looking at Capricorn as well, they can be known to be, very industrious and laborious workers. They may, in a positive manner, they could manipulate someone really in trying to accomplish more. You see many Capricorn people, especially Capricorn rising, they're not necessarily overly great in stature. They could be somewhat slender build, but despite this, they often can do more work in a smaller time frame than most people. They are ones that could actually accomplish a lot because they are just so industrious and hardworking. And also, too, when I look at Capricorn as well, again, going back to that, Capricorn can often be somewhat depressive, despondent, melancholy, and dejected. They sometimes they may use this, I think, as an excuse not to do something. They might even convince themselves that they can't do something because of this. Because especially to those people that Capricorn may know well and they understand what Capricorn's about, Capricorn may do this as a means, perhaps as far as getting out or extricating themselves from doing certain things by just saying, "Oh, I feel I'm gloomy, I'm depressed, I don't feel like doing this," and Capricorn may use this to his or her advantage, I believe. Now, sometimes it might actually be true and they really feel that they can't, they're just not up to doing certain things, perhaps because of that. But another thing about Capricorn too, in a way which I see them as being able to manipulate, is because they they might actually say they're depressed or something similar, and it might be an ulterior motive. "Oh, can you come over here? I'm feeling gloomy. I'm feeling very down right now." And what happens is when the person gets over there, then they find out, well, it's not even that. It's something completely different, but that could be as a means to lure someone over because people would think that would be plausible considering Capricorn's demeanor and disposition. Now, also, too, I think Capricorn can manipulate simply through an authoritative, really manner. They are, and whether they are in a position of authority or not. Capricorn, sadly, may often be bossy with others and get them to really to actually act like they're in some position of authority, even if he or she isn't. Sometimes, sadly, again, going back to Capricorn, I mean, looking at them as far as the authority thing goes, they are ones that if they are in a position of authority, they might use that in some cases to their advantage, I think, and sometimes will take advantage of that, of their position. It's funny, one time, sadly, there was a Capricorn, I had a manager at a retail store I work with. He has a Capricorn sun. I don't know his ascendant. I don't know his time of birth. I didn't know it, but um, sometimes, sadly, their cold and callous nature, in many instances, can impact people and somewhat manipulate them negatively and cause them anger and make people angry and exasperated. A case in point. There was one time when I was at this retail store, from what I heard and understood, is that there was a gentleman, there was some worker in the, I guess you could say in the back stock room that had gotten electrocuted, and had been laying on the ground, and I don't know if he died. I don't know what the outcome was. I never found out whether he was just, comatose or just knocked unconscious temporarily, or if he actually perished. But he got electrocuted. He was laying on the ground, and the Capricorn sun, the manager that had the Capricorn sun, he walked by the guy and he said, "Well, we need to move him. We got work to do back here. We got an order coming in or something." And that was basically it. And there was just like no compassion shown, my understanding, for this person. And that's something that could obviously irritate people very strongly. That could be kind of manipulate someone's mood in a way. And Capricorn, again, may be doing this. They don't necessarily have the intention of doing that, but that is what happens at times. And this could cause anger, obviously, in people. Another thing, when I look at Capricorn too, is that sometimes they could just simply manipulate people through certain patience and discipline, and being able to show restraint in certain situations. Now, the thing about, there was one case in point. prolific, I guess you could say renowned shock jock, Howard Stern, has a Capricorn sun. His sun sign is Capricorn. And there was one time I saw it in I believe it was in the movie Private Parts, that was basically a biography about him. There was one point in time when Robin Quivers, it was his assistant, one of his workers on the show. The company had let her go, the radio station, whatever it was, and she was very upset at Howard Stern, and it's like, why won't you show? I don't remember her exact words, but basically, message being conveyed was, why won't you show loyalty to me? Why won't you leave? And Howard Stern was simply like, well, you know what? This is what I'm going to do. I'm going to tough this out. I don't remember his exact words again. I'm not quoting, but I don't remember exactly what he said. But basically, he conveyed to her in his own way that, I'm going to stay here and I'm going to tough this situation out. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to wait this situation out until I can get things done my way and I can have more control, more power, and I will hire you back here. And sure enough, that's what happened. Now, a lot of people would have done something very impetuous and impulsive and more emotional, say like a Cancer, a Cancer Sun, Moon, or Ascendant, or a Pisces Sun, Moon, or Ascendant might have just taken off and said, the heck with you people, you let one of my workers go, I'm going, because that's really probably what they were trying to get Howard Stern to do anyway, but he didn't take the bait, and he toughed it out, and he emerged victorious. And having Gemini rising is a good head on his shoulders as well, I'm sure. And anyway, but the point being, they often use their discipline to manipulate the outcome of situations to their advantage, and I think that is a very good case in point. Now, another thing about Capricorn too, in terms of this manipulation thing, is that Capricorn as well, they will look at others. I mean, I think, well, not look at others, but I think they can inspire others, manipulate them to be successful by being consistent and staying with a regimented routine at times. Now, you take a classic case in point, Arnold Schwarzenegger, world famous bodybuilder, movie actor. He and Dwayne Johnson as well, The Rock, who has a Capricorn moon, along with Arnold Schwarzenegger. Hold on a moment, people. Anyway, if I remember correctly, Arnold Schwarzenegger had preached one time, you need to be consistent with your workouts. And in saying this, I mean, this Capricorn, a consistent energy, I think, was coming out in that statement. And Arnold Schwarzenegger does have the moon in Capricorn in the 6th house of health and daily routine. Imagine that, right? And really by being that, just by seeing him and understanding what he did, by being consistent, I'm sure following a very regimented routine, he became very successful as a bodybuilder. And I think Dwayne Johnson, I'm sure he did something very similar to what Schwarzenegger did. He obviously was very consistent with his workouts in order to attain the physique that he did. And a lot of that, I think, is the Capricorn energy coming out. Now, anyway, and another example too is Jane Fonda, actress Jane Fonda, who has a Capricorn ascendant. I remember her saying on some interview on TV that she would feel guilty if she didn't work out. And I think a lot of that is that it's just that need for that strong need to desire to be consistent with things. And considering Jane Fonda has a Capricorn ascendant, of course, that governs the physical body. And it was really pronounced and emphasized with her because she wanted, obviously, to be consistent with sculpting it and keeping her physical body in shape. And it was done with that very consistent, regimented Capricorn energy. So, anyway, well, it's also important to look at the house cusp that Scorpio falls on in a solar natal chart, as this could indicate that area or sector in life where one may be most proficient at the art of manipulation, so to speak. And in a solar or natal chart, Scorpio often falls on the 11th house cusp for Capricorn. Now, Capricorn may be manipulative, very negative manifestation in attempting to attain their aspirations and goals. They are ones that at times maybe use friends, their acquaintances to help them move up that corporate ladder and attain greater stature in their lives. They may find ways to ingratiate themselves in groups and clubs and organizations as a means to attain a higher position. On the positive end, this may manifest perhaps in manipulating their future as well by doing so, because Capricorn could be Capricorn could often have very good planning and strong premeditative ability. And I think that's how this could manifest. So anyway, it's also important to look at the house cusp that Pisces falls on in a solar or natal chart, as this could indicate the area in life where one may be rather deceptive and duplicitous, and of course that could be tied into manipulation as well. Now, Capricorn, the way this may work with them, they may be deceptive in their communications, because maybe a lot of this could be attributed to them having a difficult time in trusting others, and that reluctance in divulging much about themselves. Capricorn can be very suspicious. They could take a long time to open up to people. And a lot of this could manifest in being deceptive with siblings and with cousins, because a lot of times Capricorn can be very successful in their life, often attributed to being very ambitious. And I think what happens is sometimes they might be fearful of these siblings or cousins. They might be trying to use them, or they want something from them, so they might be rather guarded and maybe not always tell the truth, especially in terms of like a monetary situation that they may be in. And I think that's a lot of that is how that may manifest as far as Capricorn goes. So anyway, that'll conclude this YouTube astrological segment and how I believe the zodiac sign Capricorn can manipulate you. And stay tuned next time, where I will be talking about how I believe the zodiac sign Aquarius can manipulate you. Two things I want to get with you on before I head out. Firstly, the stars may impel but do not compel. And secondly, never isolate any single astrological element, aspect, planetary placement, position, configuration, influence, or what have you, and make an analysis of a person astrologically speaking based on this alone, because astrologically speaking, the person is the sum of all their components in their natal chart and not just one. Until next time, people, stay well.